Today's February 19th. We're getting all the pics and videos we're asking for. This guy lost weight. This guy gained weight. Blah, blah. Packed episode today. Let's get into it. It's the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Yins, guys. Thank you for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast, where we talk all about them Pittsburgh Pirates and that. My name is Josh, and I'm joined as always by my brother Jake. What's up, Jake? You're still muted. The mute button
Still
is
muted.
wonderful.
The mute button. Yeah, man, it's great. It's a wonderful thing. Jeez Louise. Listen, you seeing all these videos and everything going around, and I mean, I haven't seen quite as many as you have, because I haven't had a chance to when I was watching MLB Network the other day. Dude's like, Shohei Ohtani's taking 26 swings today. He's hit 13 bombs. Bro, the analysis said, yeah, but is he hitting any backside line drives? This is spring training when you work on things. I looked at the TV. I was like, is this guy crazy? Like, he's not even having official workouts yet. Go out there, hit some daggum dingers, and get the fans excited. Hitting backside line. Yeah, eventually in spring training, you're going to work on backside line drives. Not yet. We don't even know if you can hit a ball because you just had Tommy John surgery. Go hit us some dingers.
That's good. That's
Jeez
good. Hey,
Louise.
it's spring training, man.
Let's get excited.
Hey, right out of the gate, we like to share certain things here. Right out of the gate, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to put up a picture. My daughter, Keely, who talks at the end of our episode, she comes to me with a new picture that she had drawn just out of nowhere, right? And then later says, hey, can you show that on your podcast this week? And of course, you say 100% I will.
That's awesome.
So she drew the Pirates logo, right? And she had as a little part that says Pittsburgh Pirates for those who are just listening. Pittsburgh Pirates, every letter is black. The first one's black, then gold, then black, then gold, all that stuff, right? And then on the back even puts the podcast name there. Just to do it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, really awesome. So this one gets set up over here.
Yeah.
Right behind my Henry Davis card that E-Step gave me.
Nice. Should get a t-shirt printed, right?
Of that?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be cool, huh?
Yeah.
Just put that on a t-shirt of just like her.
Mm-hmm.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, what about 5.5, 6 inches of snow here? Just
Oh, that sucks.
wild. Yeah. What's your temp?
It's actually a little chilly today. It's 45 today.
45. It's 14 here, Jake.
Well,
Oh, wait. It just updated to 13.
Let me see here. Yeah, it's 42. Feels like 35 right now. It was up to 54. It was a little chilly day down here.
Yeah, we just got dumped on. And so I had posted a picture saying, like, man, dreaming of baseball right now. And the good thing is I got all the videos, all the pictures, all you could want, just flooding Instagram and mostly Twitter and stuff like that. So awesome things. Seeing a lot of guys. There's a lot of hitters there already.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Hitting bombs.
As they should be right now.
Not working on backside and bunting. Come on.
There'll be time for that.
No, it's day one. We want bunt drills.
You're not even having official workouts yet. Bunt. Jeez.
Oh, boy. No, it's great, though. It's great, though, getting to see everything. You know what's cool is I'm watching it a little bit different. Never been to spring training, right? But we're going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're going here in like a week.
It's supposed to hit 80 degrees while we're there.
I love that. But yeah, like I'm looking at the videos different, I think, because I'm like, oh man, I'm going to be in that. You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah,
that's been really cool, I guess, when you're thinking about it and you're thinking about going down there. I'm excited, dude. I'm pumped to go down there.
Oh, yeah, me too, man.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So a lot to get into, man.
Funny. You know what? I'm going to do one more quick funny story about Bradenton. Because, I was at work the other day, and this lady who starts talking to me about some chocolate stuff. I'm not going to go into detail about that. But she said a local chocolate shop in Bradenton. Like, she lived in Bradenton. I was like, oh. I said, should I stop in? I'm going to be there in a couple weeks. She's like, what are you going there for? Pirate Spring Training. Oh, my nephew is Paul Mahalam. I'm like, hey, dude, that's awesome.
What is what's the chocolate shop again? Douglas Smith. Rich's Chocolate. Douglas Smith. You got to let us know if you've been there.
Let me look here. Just make sure I'm not. Yeah, Richie's Fine Chocolates of Bradenton.
Richie's Fine. Hey, dude, we're gonna do. Here, let's do this. Ever been to Richie's Fine Chocolates? Rating.
I mean, we're gonna stop.
Oh, we're gonna stop either way. But
why would you not?
Let's just see if I get like a live. Like he's going to join the show in a way. You know what I mean? See if he sends something back to me and then we'll update as we go. But anyway, lots to get into here.
Yeah.
That signings, which we knew was going to happen because there's 10,000 people still available out there.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the internet, at least the Pirates internet, broke this week with all the trade rumors and rumors of a sign and all these different things. Just a wild week for Pirates social media in general. Man, I don't know. Look at that. Already an update. We don't even have to leave the segment. No, sir. We are kind of all about restaurants and breweries. All right. I'll tell him I will let him know. Okay, so anyway, we've got a lot here. Where there's the signings, there's the rumors, there's the craziness. I've got a couple things that I need to clear up from last week. We want to talk about what we've seen so far. A couple of things that there's been a lot, dude. There's been a lot of news. I know we said last week, we'll talk about the position group next week, and we'll get into that too. That's another thing. We want to talk a little bit about that. It's been something that we've kind of talked about all off season too, but we got a fair amount of news this week, or non-news, or maybe news. There's a lot of stuff that happened this week that we want to try to touch on, and a couple things that I'm gonna, I guess we'll just do some quick hits as we go through.
Sure.
So let's get into everything. The first thing I'll do is the notes. Jake follows along on the notes. We kind of keep the same note page for each other, and it's out of order, dude. I'm gonna mess you up a little bit, but a couple things from last week just to say, okay? When we were talking about CSN, and I said, did you say that you wanted him to sign to the Mariners? And I got called out for that because it was Yark. And he's like, oh, he just forgets about our conversation. So, Yark, I would apologize for forgetting it was you, but I don't want the expectation to be that I will remember things. I don't want you, man. I don't want you to expect the next time I'll remember. So let's make a deal. You keep calling me out on it, and that's the way we'll handle that when I forget. So I'm fair with that. You can bring it on because I'm fine with that stuff. I'm not gonna get like offended by you saying that it was you. The other thing from last week's show, a little more on the important side, I guess you could say. Friend of the show and all Pirates podcasts and fans and everything is Ethan Houlihan. He set me straight on one thing here. As well as a bunch of people. Like there's a lot of people who were saying that on Tuesday, 4 guys go to the 60-day injured list. You get 4 guys opened up on the 40-man roster. A couple things on that, just so the information is spread even further, because I said it. So it's unlikely Mike Burrows gets placed on the 60-day injured list. In order to do that, they would have to keep him on the active roster, which would pay him MLB money and service time. So it'd be kind of stupid in a sense.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To do that. Obviously, it'd be great if you got paid MLB money, but you know what I'm saying? You're starting the service time thing, which obviously gets, whatever, but it's just not, it wouldn't be the right thing to do, or the smart thing to do, rather, in case somebody thinks that would be the right thing to do. But he doesn't have MLB service time, and because of that, they can just option him. You normally can't option an injured player, but because he doesn't have service time, it's in the rules. That's something you can do. You can option him even though he's injured. Place him on the minor league 60-day. That's fine. He'll still use a 40-man spot, though. That's the caveat to that. So really, you only get 3 spots available. Also, you don't just place 3 guys on the 60-day IL. It has to be made with a move. So we signed Yasmani Grandal. Oviedo goes on the, you know what I mean? Or I think was it Oviedo or Andy? I forget what actual.
I thought it was Brubaker.
Okay. I actually probably have this pulled up. Yeah. Because there was a couple of them, right? Grandal, Andy went on the 60-day. Josh Fleming, we'll get to those signings, Oviedo. So Brubaker actually isn't on there yet. He's not on the 60-day yet. And that's just because you have to have a move in order to do that. So that's interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know about all that either. I just assumed you put them on the 40 or on the 60-day, and then, you could make another move at any point in time. I didn't know it was like a hand-in-hand type deal.
Which maybe makes sense when you think about it and you say like, oh, well, this guy was injured. He's on the 10-day or whatever the IL is right now for depending on pitcher or position player. Mm-hmm. And then later it's like, hey, we've recalled this guy. This guy goes on the 60. You know what I mean? But he does it. You don't put him on the 60 unless you're recalling a guy. So kind of interesting there. But we wanted to clear that up. So let's get into some of these transactions. The first and foremost, I think the most notable, the most impactful one, I would say, as far as the actual roster that's going to be in Pittsburgh. Yasmani Grandal, catcher, signed to a 1-year, $2.5 million deal with incentives to add another $1 million, I think is what it is.
Highly doubt he gets that $1 million.
Well, we don't know what the incentives are.
If they're performance-based, I doubt he gets it.
Well, right. It could just be games-based or... Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think games-based would be fair even because it's like, well, if we need you that much, we'll pay you that much, but we don't need you that much. I don't know. 2.5 just feels low for a veteran of his tenure. I don't care. Like sometimes there's something to be said about how long you've played. You know what I mean? I don't care how good you are. It's just like you've put in the time. What's he, 12 years in the league? You know what I mean? Like 2.5, it's fine, but it's just interesting that it was not like a blanket 4 or 5 million.
I just don't know how much. I don't know how much he adds to this team.
Okay.
I don't know. He's just never, and I could be way off base here. I have no idea, but he just doesn't seem like a guy that's like, let me pass down some knowledge, or I don't know. He just doesn't seem like that type of guy. He's always seemed kind of selfish to me. Completely off, like not completely in tune. Just kind of gives me that vibe. But I mean, if prove me wrong. I mean, I've been wrong before. Just prove me wrong. I'm going to root for you if you're wearing black and gold. So It's not that I can't stand the guy or anything. I just don't know that he's really worth anything right now.
So, obviously actions speak louder than words. His words this week were, "I've had my career," essentially, when he was asked about what he could pass on to the younger guys. And his quote was, "I've had my career. I hope I can pour into theirs and help them be able to have a better career too." So I'm not, you know what I mean?
Hey.
I don't say that right.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? I don't know that I've ever had I don't know that I've ever really had a vibe from him. I don't know that I've paid attention as closely to even get a vibe. I know that he's been a good Major League Baseball player. He's had some great years. He's had some not great years. There's holes in his game like there is just about anyone's. For me, I think veterans in general are a good thing.
Yeah.
And the question is, and maybe we will get into this later. The question is what his role is, because, I'm thinking the whole time this is a great idea. Just like I said last week about Gary Sanchez and the rumors there, what a great idea to bring somebody like that in as a backup catcher rather than Ali Sanchez or even Jason DeLay. I mean, I know DeLay has things that he offers, but for me, the verdict is still out and he still has a lot to prove, especially at the plate. There's a lot of luck. There's a lot of, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of dinks and dunks, and I just don't know that it's very repeatable skills. It could be, to be seen. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like there was a hot streak and then tapered off. But
yeah,
and I still like he's got options. He's depth. I think it's great to have somebody like DeLay in there for depth. But for me, I'd rather have somebody like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't hate the signing. I just wasn't excited. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of people say that.
Like I said, if he's gonna come in and pass down a bunch of knowledge, and if he's actually gonna put in work with Davis, and he has obviously said, I hope I can pour into theirs. Like,
yeah,
okay, I'm already listening. I'm rooting for him. I'm hoping that I'm way off base.
You're right. Yeah, obviously, and then also it's kind of an unselfish thing to say that I've already had my career.
Right.
He's not even, he's just hanging on. Still loves the game, I guess. You know what I mean? Like that's a piece of it.
I mean, that's already starting to turn my, opinion in my mind a little bit. So
yeah. So I
missed that one.
Yeah. That's the only major league signing so far. Well, no, that's not fair. But let's go into some other ones. Couple minor league deals, including Chase Anderson that just happened, I think today. Connor Sadzik, is it? I didn't look up anything about him. Another minor league deal, along with Willie Peralta, Brent Honeywell. These are, minor league deals. Depth is important. These are good things that need to happen. They're not going to move the needle. And essentially, these are the types of guys we don't need to talk about them until we need to. You know what I mean? On that note, but there's a little in-betweener. Josh Fleming was signed, left-handed pitcher. He's been with Tampa. And he gets a split deal. And before I came on and said anything wrong, I said, well, I'm going to look this up. I was away from my computer for a while, and so I just sent out a tweet and asked our friend Ethan about a split deal. I was like, hey, you got any comments on this? I believe this means that he gets a certain rate if he makes the team and a certain rate if he doesn't. And what my question was about his 40-man spot, and this was before it was official. But he does get a 40-man spot. So that's one of the spots. That's where Oviedo went on the 60-day for this move. If he makes the team, he gets $850K. If he doesn't, then they send him outright to AAA, and they don't have to pay that salary. There's a different salary that they've already agreed to. And then, obviously, being out of options, so he has to pass through waivers. If nobody picks him up, he has a choice to take that contract or to go back into free agency. It's essentially all it is. To me, it's still, he's taking a 40-man spot right now, but it's a non-guaranteed contract.
Right.
So if he doesn't make the team, it's the same thing essentially as a minor league deal, except he could just go all the way away and not pitch in Indy. And most of these guys on minor league deals could also choose to do the same thing by a certain date. That there's like something that, because if they have enough major league time, which some of these guys do, like Willie Peralta, I'm sure has enough time in the league that he could probably opt out at a certain date. But I don't know that date, so I'm not going to go into it. But it's just one of those things where, like, if it might work out, it might not, but he's going to get maybe a little bigger look than Brent Honeywell. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, so now the fake transactions. Do you want to go trade route or, well, we'll go in order of operations here, in order of the way they happened. A ton of buzz this week on the Edward Cabrera stuff. I don't know who starts things. I don't care who wants to be, I heard this, I heard that. We've known they've talked to the Marlins for a long time. We've known that there's been conversations for most of the offseason. Some names start to come out. Edward Cabrera, Bay, Ashcraft, and Jeb is one of the deals that was communicated. Nothing happened. It was confirmed that they are talking to the Marlins, and it would make sense for it to be Edward Cabrera, right? Yeah. With all the things that you look at, it would make sense. So where are we at? Obviously, first things first, Edward Cabrera, if that's the deal, I would make that deal immediately.
Yeah.
I would,
but because we're sitting here saying we would make that immediately, the Marlins are like, they're thinking.
Right. Well, then obviously they get into spring training. One of their guys has shoulder soreness, and they might be like, oh boy. And then let's throw another wrench into it, right? And let's say, well, also, what was I? Oh, Bradish for Baltimore goes down. He's going to miss the whole year. And now all of a sudden they're calling and they want Luzardo, right. And they've got their prospect capital's even bigger than what the Pirates have. And they have guys at the major league level right now that they could deal because, Jake, are you going to be surprised if they make a deal from their major league roster and Jackson Holiday gets a shot right out of the gate?
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised if they just say, Jackson, you got a real shot here. We're moving this guy. Who is it? Mateo that was starting right. For them. Yeah. Like Mateo could be one of those guys that is on his way. You know what I'm saying? And that would be huge. And they've already said things like he's going to get a chance to. Why can't I get to Baseball Reference here? That he's going to get a chance to make the team even without that trade. Mm-hmm. So, Jorge Mateo, 116 games. I guess he's 28, so that's probably not the guy they're going to send there. I thought there was a younger guy. I was thinking that's who it was, but it must be somebody else. And they've already sent Ortiz out. So maybe, I don't know, Jordan Westberg, somebody like that. I don't know if he's really... I mean, they're not looking for a shortstop, right? They're looking for just infield depth, but from what we've heard. Anyway.
Right.
It's probably going to throw a wrench into the Pirates getting Cabrera. Whether it's the injury or it's Baltimore going and picking a pitcher out there to where they say, well, we can't get rid of Cabrera now.
Right.
They wouldn't mind making room for Max Meyer, even though he's not. I don't know that they're ready to just throw him in there. But Cabrera's the kind of pitcher where, yeah, he's the guy they'll get rid of, but he's also a lot of control. And he, Yuri Perez on an innings limit, Braxton Garrett's on the sore shoulder. You've got obviously Luzardo, who's lights out. Alcantara is going to miss this year, or at least most of this year, from what I understand. So, like, they've got a situation, but they've also got a strength there, and they've got Max Meyer on the way, and they've got so and whatever else. But the word is that if Cabrera figures out the command on the fastball or the command in general, his ceiling actually, he's better than most of those. Maybe not like Alcantara, but like he could pass up Garrett and Luzardo and maybe even Yuri Perez, although I'm not sure about that one. But basically they're saying like the ceiling is higher, the floor is lower though. And so that would be the piece of that. And you've got a question. Are the Pirates up for that challenge? Are we the ones that are saying we're going to fix this young player? Because we're still waiting on some of our young players to be fixed in that sense. And I will go directly to like Roanzi and Ortiz. Ortiz maybe, but certainly Roanzi, a guy that we acquired, that we didn't have a hand in a lot of things. There's a lot of hate for pitching development in general for the Pirates. However, I think that the wave that's coming is going to tell what this development team is capable of with Jared Jones and Solomito and Bubba Chandler and Thomas Harrington and, even then Paul Skeens, even though he was mostly a finished product when he came into it. So, and I say mostly, there are still things, but mostly. Having a little bit of, still just winter, snow, crappy nasally voice. But you were saying?
Yeah. Yeah, Cabrera's a guy that I'd love to see that change up in Pittsburgh. I'm a change up guy, and he's got one of the best.
Yeah. Yeah, and I brought that up in a conversation earlier this week. Be like, if his change up is that good, man, we're never going to hear the end of it from Jake. So, I was expecting that. I go a little bit more. I think Cabrera is kind of a bigger deal. I think he does change things a little bit. Yeah, there could be struggle there. There's going to be risk. It's not a Chris Archer deal. I've heard people say, well, that falls apart. It'll be Chris Archer. The difference between this and Chris Archer is this is a guy who you have a ton of control of. He's not a big money guy coming in with the expectation to change things, but he is a high upside guy that helps this rotation immediately. Yeah. That's a huge difference to me. No options, so it's not like there's a send down, anything like that. Like, this is a major league pitcher and a good one who's dominated, but just has trouble with the control. I mean, essentially like a higher ceiling Johan Oviedo in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe they'll get it done. Maybe the sore shoulder for Miami, and it just depends on what they want so bad and how they want to continue to build depth. You always have to think about building depth. If they can get 3 players for one, sometimes it's worth it. And for another team who's in a situation like the Pirates, if you can deal 3 players to get one major league piece right now, that's also worth it. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe they get it done. Maybe it helps this team right out of the gate. If not, we might be looking at Josh Fleming starting games. So we'll see.
I don't know if I see that happening.
So the other was Domingo Germán essentially put a post up on Instagram that literally had a yellow background with a black text, and everybody said it's a done deal. He's signing. He also followed the Pirates on Instagram. This is where we're at, dude. Yeah. This is how far we're going and how hungry Pirates fans are to hear something happen that we're saying that he followed O'Neal Cruz and the Pirates on Instagram, so he must have signed. I don't know, man. Here's the thing.
It's just a little bit of a reach.
It is. I can see where you connect dots, and that's fine. And there's a little bit of me that says like, wow, we went nuts over this. There's also a little bit of me that says like, yeah, but like this fan base is that hungry that like, I don't know, like those dots do connect in ways.
Yeah, I mean,
we know
do,
that they were looking at him. We know, and as a matter of fact, the report came out that there is nothing done, but they are talking. A lot of what, and we're going to get into this next, but a lot of what happens here is, or maybe not next, but a lot of what happens here is they talk to the player, they make sure he's going to be a fit, they make sure they like him, excuse me, all of those things. This is a guy that you got to talk to. He had an incident just last year, turning tables and whatnot in the clubhouse. I mean, this is a guy you got to talk to. This is a guy that you got to say, there will be no problems if you come here. And if there are, what are we going to do about it? What kind of contract can we sign that protects us from you having an issue with, in particular, drinking has been his biggest issue. And I know that there's listeners out there that say, no, his biggest issue is this other thing. But that other thing happened as a result of drinking. Right. His problem is drinking. The guy's a lousy drunk. And he gets into a lot of trouble when he drinks. And that's, I mean, I know I laughed, but I don't say that lightheartedly. Like there are people who are crazy drunks. There are people who get in trouble, who need to stop because they have a problem. And that is what we're seeing with a guy like this. And I think that you can say all you want, and this is the same everywhere. Like he went through his rehab, he did his things. People, I believe in chances given to people, but I think that you learn from the past. And I think there has to be something said there. This is one that I would be very cautious in. This isn't 10 years ago. This isn't 5 years ago. This happened last year.
Yeah.
So I'd be concerned. So anyway.
Rightly so, too.
Yeah. So whatever it is, I mean, I still think they're working stuff. I still think they're trying to acquire somebody. However it has to happen, they're trying to do it. And we'll react when they do. I just don't want to get caught up in. I love the passion. I just don't. I don't care if people continue to freak out over all of these reports. As a matter of fact, all it does is just perk my alert up because I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to be like, yeah, right. But I'm just going to say, all right, now I'll pay attention because you never know when something happens and it leaked for a reason. You know what I mean?
Right.
However, let's just, I don't know. There's a line between calming down and, going ahead and run with it. Go ahead and have some fun with it.
Sure.
I don't care. All right. So anyway, let's keep moving here. We want to go to we saw that kind of stuff. You know what I want to do? I want to jump into a couple of things that were kind of reported this week as well. And I want to go to the Cherington stuff while we're setting records straight here. Let's just go there because that was something that was said by Cherington. He was questioned about the offseason moves and about the things that they're trying to do and the moves that they're trying to make and whether they felt like they're done. And obviously he said they're not. He used GM speak a lot, but most specifically, the complaints and the annoyed fans and angry fans just went with pitchforks after Ben Cherington after Jason Mackey asked him about Trevor Bauer. And this is a topic that you and I haven't touched. And we're still not going to, but I'll talk about what he said. For us, it's reaction, right? And I just said that. Like, we'll react if things happen. However, what he said, everybody got mad at because, he basically said nothing. And I tweeted this much for those of you who aren't on there and aren't following everything on there is why I wanted to bring this up. Because you probably heard the reports and read what he said, and Jason Mackey did a great job asking the question. I think that it's, I mean, like that. The reason that some of these questions are hard to ask is because I'm sure that Mackey knew the answer, or at least knew how he was going to answer. Right?
Sure. Yeah. Mm.
And I'm not going to read his answer. Go read Jason Mackey's article if you want to see it. Follow or just check his Twitter out. He put some quotes on there from it, which is what everybody really reacted to in the first place. But I want to share, like, first off, like, I'm not here to even, like, back him up in a sense. Or to, you know what I mean? Like, say Ben Cherington's still great and he's awesome and I don't, you know, it's not that. It is what it is, right? We're following along this whole thing. He said exactly what he should have said.
Right.
I have absolutely no beef with anything he said. And the reason is because he's not allowed. It's in the CBA, and I'm just going to read it. Similarly, I'm probably going to mess some of these up because it's legal talk, and I don't do legal talk. None of the covered parties may make comments to the media about the value of an unsigned free agent or about possible or contemplated terms for an unsigned free agent, regardless of whether discussions have occurred. The prohibitions apply equally to comments that are on and off record, as well as to comments that are provided on the condition of anonymity. I sound real dumb right now.
Anonymous.
Yeah, essentially, right? Or published without identifying the source, for like an industry source kind of a thing, right? And they literally list things that they're not allowed to say. It's wild. Here they are. Player X won't receive anything longer than a 1-year deal. Like, you can't say that about a player.
Right.
Player X is seeking more than player Y received. You can't say that. Here's one that's really in particular, right? This is why he didn't say what he didn't say. He's not allowed to say, we are out on player X. He's not allowed to say that. So when he said, hey, you can't, like, why are you out? He can't say we're out. He said, well, I can speak in generality. And then he goes through his whole thing. He never said whether they were in or out, and he's not allowed to. Player X is worth at least Y million. Can't do that. Player X has contract offers for multiple clubs. Can't do that. We are unwilling to forfeit a draft selection to sign player X. Can't do that. We have concerns about a physical condition of a player. Can't do that. And they're not worth more than Y million, nor should he receive a contract greater than Z years. So, like, these are and it says, like, these are not limited to these statements, but these are the types of statements you're not allowed to say.
That's crazy.
Here's another one. For the purposes, this is later on in the deal. For the purposes, a report of a contract offer is a report of the existence and or terms of a contract offer made by or to a club. Got it? A contract offer. And it says, in response to a media report of a contract offer, a player or representative of a player, so even an agent, or a club may offer one of the following responses. So this would be, hey, did you offer a contract to so-and-so, or, you know, something about it. State that the player or club declines to comment about any negotiations between the player and club. I believe that was in his quote, where he said, well, I won't speak directly to that situation, but I'll speak in generals. Look, he said he's following the rules, dude.
Right.
Confirm or deny that the player and club are engaged in discussions. He's done as much to say we are or we are not. And if they're ongoing, decline to comment about the substance of those negotiations. Not allowed. And this is just a way to, you know, say that. Confirm or deny an offer has been made. So you can say, yes, an offer's been made. He's allowed to say that. But state that the details provided in the story or in the inquiry are not accurate. So he's allowed to even say that. Or confirm that the offer has been made and that the details are accurate. So you're allowed to do that as well. So you can say like, hey, did you offer a contract to Sean Manaea for 2 years, $20 million? I believe he's allowed to say yes. It sounds like. Either way.
Yeah, that's what it seems like, yeah.
Either way, he basically did exactly what he was supposed to do. By rule, or he would have been punished.
Right.
He's not being vague because he sucks. He's being vague because he has to be.
Yeah.
All right? A lot of us think that GM talk is something other than what it is, intentional.
You know, I was surprised because when I was looking through this and I saw some of the stuff that you were putting on here, like I didn't know any of that. But thinking back to some of the stuff that like I've heard Brian Cashman say, like I'm surprised he was allowed to say that much. So much so as he said stuff like, "Yeah, Soto's a 1-year thing, and we'll see if we can get him after that." But we kind of know he's going to free agency. Like,
yeah, and that's
just these things that they say like
right,
that. Like, looking through these, I'm actually surprised he was able to say that much. But
yeah, that's like it's not a free agent thing though.
That's true.
And I think this is based
Yeah.
on free agency and based on like if you say some of these things, you will hurt their chances of signing a deal and whatnot. So I think that that's the big thing about these. But yeah, it's the only reason I even remember that these are there is Ohtani. When everybody said, "How's come nobody will say this and this and this and this?" And it came up to say, well, they're not allowed.
Yeah.
And so that when they were talking about Ohtani and about what you can and can't say, I remember that this was posted. And when I heard Ben Cherington talk about this situation and others, I'm like, oh yeah, that's exactly what he's supposed to say.
Yeah.
And you know, I've heard the criticism of it being scripted, and now I'm kind of like, no, it is scripted, and that shouldn't be criticism. It just shouldn't.
Right.
Unless you want to criticize the CBA, which is fair game. Go ahead and do that.
Yeah,
No,
for sure.
Don't let me hold you back, but just point it to the right direction. I think sometimes we just want to hate and we just want to be mad. I'm just not mad about it. You know what I mean? Like I just think he's just doing his job.
No, he's following. Yeah, he's following the rules of his job.
The other thing that we heard this week, and this will move us into a lot of the things that we want to talk about for the rest of this episode, which are most of these are really quick things. So we're going to move here and just kind of get through these things. But they're fun. A lot of fun things here. This first one's a little bit question and move into all the fun things. Okay. Henry Davis starting in AAA, Jake? Is that a thing? Is Grandal the starter? What's the deal? Because Derek Shelton said Grandal's one of the catchers. And then the second spot is up for competition. How do you translate that?
So, I mean, I know you and I have both chatted about this already, and we both have the same thoughts. So, I mean, the starting job is Henry Davis's to lose, kind of, in my opinion. You know, Grandal's got a spot on the 26-man roster. Grandal doesn't have the starting role. That's not what he's saying. He says Grandal's on his team. He's not going to AAA. Obviously, we're not going to do that. But is he going to be the starter or is he going to be the backup? That's up to Henry Davis. It's going to take a lot for, say, Jason DeLay to come out of spring training and be the starter.
Yeah.
However, if Jason DeLay impresses and Henry Davis isn't doing well and doesn't look as good, which, I mean, dude looks like a tank already. Let's just start there.
It's literally next on our list.
But, you know, if Davis isn't the starter, he's going to get a AAA. Is how I feel. Because
do you think that's the right move?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, and I don't think it's the wrong move. I just, if he still needs some work at catching, then he still needs some work at catching. This isn't the year that we get the luxury of him coming up and playing him in right field or letting him DH, or he's going to have to catch.
Okay, what about if it is catching? What if he's hitting? What if he's raking?
Then if he's raking, he's got the job.
And then
he's going to be the starter.
If he's going to learn how to catch and he's hitting, he can learn how to catch at the major league level.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
I don't care how bad it is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
he
there.
Doesn't catch Mitch Keller.
If he goes to AAA, is he a bust?
No.
Because that's what's going to be said.
I don't think that. And he's too young to be called a bust yet. I mean, in 22.
Well, you could say what you want about age. To me, it's not age; it's about experience. Because he is 24, he was a senior.
Okay,
you know what I mean.
Yeah,
this is a college guy, right. So age is not, as far as that kind of stuff goes. Age is not on his side.
Right.
So you're looking at a guy who is, he's 24. His birthday's in September, so he turns 25 this season. So age is not the thing, right? But the fact that this guy was drafted at 22 is the other piece of that. You know what I mean? Like, this guy was basically of age, and he was drafted as a hitter. And really, I mean, isn't that bizarre to say, right? But he was a quote-unquote catcher because you have to list the position, but he was there because he hits. And he's done that at every level. Hitting-wise, he's just going to go to AAA and hit.
Right.
And so there's nothing more. Like, he needs to learn how to hit Major League pitching. Mm-hmm. I think sending him down almost just prolongs that.
Yeah.
And so I'm kind of at a place where unless he's literally not hitting and they know why, he needs to keep seeing Major League pitching.
Yeah, I agree, and that's what I'm saying. I don't think it would be, but I still wouldn't consider him a bust. Yeah.
Oh no. That was
that's the only thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I moved on from that. I'm just saying people are going to say he's a bust already. People already think he's a bust. I just don't know how you get there that fast.
Yeah, that's just so fast.
To me, like, any draft pick that you have, any draft pick, and we've talked about this before, if you draft him, the goal is that he becomes a major leaguer. Period. I don't care if you're 1-1. 1-1 to me does not change whether or not, if you're 1-1 though, you need to be in the Hall of Fame. Like, no, that actually doesn't happen all the time. Actually, rarely happens.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
there's 2 or 3 of them.
1-1 is he should be a major leaguer. He should be an everyday major leaguer. He should have a major league career. Really, anybody you draft in the first half of the first round, success means they made it to the majors and stayed there. Anyone else drafted after the first 15 picks in the draft, maybe 20, I don't really know. I haven't really thought about the number until this moment.
Right.
Is hope they make it to the majors.
Mm-hmm.
But those early picks, it's no. Like, we have an early pick. We'd like to be able to see somebody have a major league career. That's your success. There is no, if he's not a 4-time All-Star, he's a bust. Get out of here. If he's able to stay in the major leagues, he was worth a draft pick. It's hard to get to the major leagues. That's the elite of the elite. Mm-hmm. And that includes guys like Austin Hedges somehow. Because they have some kind of skill that's worthy of teams still giving him a contract.
Right.
I don't even know why I went there, but
I don't either.
I went there. Is he it's so funny for Pirates fans, because we've had guys like Josh Van Meter and Kai Tom and Dustin Fowler, and yet we consider Austin Hedges as the worst baseball player who actually has a serviceable skill, and we're sitting here, we're more mad about him than we are. Maybe it's just time makes us forget some of those other guys, but But yeah, I mean, no, he's already made it to the majors. He's earned his way there. It's not like it was just given it to him because the Pirates stink. He earned it there with his bat. The other piece of this is, the anger of how they've treated him. I'm just not going to go there. Like, or how the development, they treated the development of him. Like, I mean, he's a hitter. They've always worked on his catching. They didn't think he was good enough to catch in the majors. They had other catchers. So they went with Endy. Endy's not there. I think this needs to be like, hey, you either become a catcher this year or you have to learn another position. Yeah. That's the way I'd treat this season. In that sense, he looks huge.
Yeah.
That was it?
I mean,
broke a windshield already.
That's
what you're going to say.
Video of him running and.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, dude's quick for a catcher. He's quick. I'm just kind of not what's the word? Not worried about it, but I'm hoping it doesn't slow him down much.
Well, I mean,
like
what
speed,
is it? It's like 10, 15 pounds of muscle.
Yeah. That's a lot in an off season. That's a lot.
It might be 10, but still.
Yeah.
The idea is, and maybe I'll get your take on this because we're going to talk about a couple other guys. I mean, what is the size guys we want to talk about? Well, let's go straight to that. Aroldis Chapman's huge. What a monster.
He's a monster. Yeah.
Also, like, maybe this is coping. I'll say that. Maybe it's coping. He kind of looks good in Pirates stuff.
Yeah.
Then again, we have the best colorway, best unis in baseball, so everyone looks good in Pirates stuff. Maybe I'm just biased, but anyway. Rowdy Tellez does not look as big as I remember.
No.
Is black thinning? What's the Jim Gaffigan joke where they say, "Oh, you look thin. Have you lost weight?" He's like, "I'm homeless and I'm wearing a garbage bag." Well, you look thin. Is it the black or is he thinner?
I mean, it's a good question. I mean, he sure does look thinner.
Pilates,
right?
We've seen him on Foul Territory talking about Pilates. You think that's
He's still a big, broad dude, man. Like it's not like he's lost a ton of weight. His weight just looks better.
Okay. Anything there? I mean, so let's talk about this in general because we've just talked about two guys. We always make the jokes about he's in the best shape of his life, best shape of his life. You've got one guy getting thinner, one guy getting thicker. Which would you prefer coming into spring training?
So you're talking about two different people, though.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like
that's true.
Rowdy Tellez, I'd rather him come in looking thinner.
That's fair.
He put on a lot of weight in Milwaukee, and he went through some hitting struggles. Who was it? He was talking about something. He's like, "Well, I actually wasn't fat then."
Yeah. Foul Territory.
Yeah. So, like, it's just he's probably baseball shape. He's in much better spot where he is right now than he was a year ago when he was having all struggles. So, yes, I have not seen him, but that still image of him deforming a baseball. That's really all I've seen of him other than walking past the camera.
Yeah, you saw him walking past the camera.
But I'm already kind of excited about this signing. Like, dude could possibly have a big bounce back year.
If he's in shape, you feel like maybe there's a little, he's got something to prove. He's healthy. Sure. I mean, we're not, not going all the way out there.
I'm not calling for it. Yeah. I'm just saying. So he's got my interest now.
One of the reasons I bring this up is because I feel like it's been kind of a thing in the past where people come into spring training with some added weight intentionally. This has been a thing. And less than like Henry Davis coming in looking like he can now lift a pickup truck over his head. But it's the idea that like this is a long season. And I guarantee you most every player goes home in October weighing at least 5 pounds less than what they showed up in spring. At least. And I'm talking about thin guys and thicker guys.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've heard as much as some guys saying that they lost 15, 20 pounds during the season because it's nonstop. Anybody who says baseball isn't physical, go talk to that guy.
Yeah.
Who has to like put on weight every offseason so that he can get through it. Like these guys, it's physical. This is difficult. And these guys are eating huge meals, steak dinners every night. Steak's not fatty necessarily unless you're, you know what I mean? It's typically lean. Yeah, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, protein.
They're eating well is what I'm saying. And they're still like, because of the grind, because of the length of the season, because of how often they play, they're still dropping a lot of weight. So there's part of me that's like, I'd rather you come in a little heavier, a little meatier. We'll get that off you.
That's fair.
You know what I mean? Like Henry Davis ain't gonna look like that in October. He just won't. We won't notice it because we'll see it happen over the summer. But that's, we've seen that a lot. A couple other things here before we wrap it up. Rohansi's gotten more praise than concern so far. Mackey's got an article out there about a conversation he had with him where he said he was trying to do too much. Sure, that's one thing. And that was a reaction to his velocity dip. He said, once the velocity was down, I tried to overdo it. Okay, I'm listening. I'm really watching Rohansi. He's a big one for me because he could change what this rotation is. Or he could just, keep it where we've been concerned about it. Mitch Keller, impressed so far. A couple live AB striking out some guys who have high strikeout rates. However, it was very clear from the reports that, Mitch Keller looked good. It wasn't just guys striking out.
Yeah.
Not to mention their first time getting in.
What did Mackey say? Mackey, I believe he said really, really good.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like, Mitch Keller, the only guy that we're sitting here saying we're relying on. And then a couple of us in the back of our head said, if we had a full rotation, would we even be like not talking about Keller? I feel like we would say like, well, let's hope he can put a full season in there. Right. But we're not saying that because the rotation's in shambles. And so, we haven't been concerned. Good to see him show up and say, no, you're good. You don't have to think about it.
Right.
That's a good thing. And, you got to look for these things. You got to look for the silver linings when you're talking about all these problems. You know what I'm saying? O'Neal Cruz looks good, looks healthy from what we've seen so far. Field and ground balls, swinging the bat, all that stuff. I've seen a lot of videos. I've seen a lot of things. They're great. What's that?
Running.
Sprinting. Yep, sprinting. Very good. Extension season. I know everybody's kind of upset that they haven't talked to Mitch Keller. That's kind of business as usual. Extension season is spring training. That's pretty normal for most teams. It's when they talk extensions. No different in Pittsburgh. Obviously, we've seen Hayes and Reynolds both. All their negotiations really skyrocketed in spring training. And so just worked out a few differences after that. But Mitch Keller, I'm thinking as we're on that, Mitch Keller probably top of that list, right? Do you think yet? Do you need to see a full season? You ready to go?
Oh, I'm ready to extend him.
It's not that long. You're talking about like a 4-year deal now. You know what I mean? He's 3 years from free agency, so you're 4 or 5 years. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Buy out his arbitration, tack on a couple extra years, maybe throw in an option or something.
Yep.
Any interest in O'Neal Cruz, Jack Swinski, David Bednar, or some sneaky? I looked at the roster. If you have somebody else, I'd be real surprised.
I mean, yeah, I would obviously entertain talking to all three of those guys. You just don't know. Like if you can buy out their arb years and not have to go through that process, yeah.
What's it worth it? You know what I mean? What's it worth it to do it? If you buy out their arb years, it's really not an extension. I mean, they'll call it that probably, but for these guys, Are you going to go into free agency? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like if you take a year or two of free agency, what's it worth? And so that's kind of where it goes. I mean, Jack Swinsky would be interesting. I feel like he's about to break out. He might not. I feel like because of that, there's like a fair amount that you could pay him that's not. I don't think you're getting an O'Neal Cruz deal that's a really affordable contract.
Right.
You're going to pay for O'Neal Cruz. And I'm fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
But,
right.
I mean, he hasn't even played 100 games yet. So there's a little bit of that makes you say, like, well, let's maybe make sure that the power shows up more than the strikeouts do. Let's make sure that he's going to play defense. Jack Swinsky, I feel like you kind of know what you're going to get. There's only really improvement he can make. But if he ends up being a guy who strikes out a lot and hits you 20 homers, I feel like there's a baseline for that. And you probably could get an extension done kind of like think about like a Jose Tabata type extension when they signed him to like a 6-year deal for like, no, the money's not the same, Jake. He's got power. Right. Tabata didn't. But like, I forget what his deal was. I don't know, in the 30s, 20s or 30s, something like that. Yeah. Maybe 40s, but I don't think so. I think that was Marte.
I don't think it was that high.
Marte, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, you know what? I'm going to look up the Tabata deal. Contract. 2011. 37. That's what I thought. It was in the 30s. And so, like, I mean, so what is that today? I don't know. Like, are you signing Sawinski to like a 40, 50, somewhere, you know, like upper 40s? Is it that big of a difference? I mean, because, I mean, that, you know, that wasn't terrible money. You know what I mean? And it doesn't have a 6-year deal, but it also had options for 17, 18, and 19. So for like a few extra. And those numbers are much lower than they would be per year for Sawinski. But I really think you could get a deal, in a sense, for Sawinski and have those like option years be some pretty, you know, bigger numbers. And I mean, he could blow up and make that a really good signing, but also he could, you know, maybe not and make it like a Gregory Polanco type thing, which I don't think so because the defense is better. So, you know what I mean? I don't think it ever gets to that point. And also, Polanco's thing was injuries. I think if Polanco would have played through that, it would have been underwhelming, but it still would have been fine. His injuries, the fact that he wasn't on the field is what made that contract so bad to me. I mean, I think you pay a player to be on the field first.
Right.
Production second. In a way. Like, right, you know what I'm saying? And I guess what I'm saying is like you have a rate.
You can't produce if you're not on the field.
The first thing you do is pay, like you say, here's your salary, right? You're not gonna take a job unless they're paying you. You get paid for your time. Production comes second, and then you decide, well, you're not getting a raise. You know what I mean? Because you're not producing. Right. I mean, just think about your job. Much different structure, but you get the point. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting. Bednar's a reliever. That makes it tough. You've got a couple guys in your bullpen right now who maybe could take that. Thinking of Majinski, thinking of maybe even Holderman, who still, even though his age, has a lot of control. So I don't know. I'd love to buy out his arbitration and not go to arbitration with David Bednar.
Yeah.
But I also wouldn't mind if they honored his free agency. If that's what they needed to do, right? It all depends on the conversations they have with him, but just the fact that like relievers are really tough to sign to long-year deals.
Right.
They just are. You know what I mean? That's just the nature of it, but I don't know. My guess is it's Keller, and it's probably Keller or nobody. But it's an interesting exercise to go through. Not a whole lot of time here. We're running over. There's just nothing left to say about the second base competition. And in the coming weeks, we're going to be talking about what this outfield's going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't know. And I know that, like I said, I know that we planned on talking about these types of things this week, but then we watched things happen and we got news, and it was like, hey, maybe it's worth it to actually talk about the things that we can see instead of projecting ahead, right? And that's just kind of
Right,
what we like to
right.
do anyway, other than we like to do our picks and that. But outside of that, I think that the stuff that we're seeing and the stuff that is here, I think those are the things we want to talk about. Those are things that you want to hear us talk about. You don't want to hear our guesses on what this outfield's going to look like. Let's see some of the players show up first, and then we'll see. Let's see what Palacios looks like when he shows up. He might be there.
Right.
Let's see what he looks like when we start seeing him. Right. Let's see what we don't even know anything. We don't even know anything about all of ours yet. Let's see him.
Yeah.
Let's see what he looks like. Let's see. I don't know. Connor Joe, we kind of get. Triolo, we're going to talk about. What's Bay look like this year? Is he going to stop trying to hit the moon with the ball? Is he going to slap it around? Is he going to go backside on his first AB? What's Nick Gonzalez going to do? That's a big one for me.
Yeah.
To me, that second base job is between Peguero and Gonzalez. And then everybody else is still involved because neither one of those two have taken it. But what if they show up? And what if Peguero's hitting bombs? By the way, anybody who says Peguero looks chubby, get out of here. What do you... My goodness, the guy's a tank.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I have. Is that all you have? I'm going to play some music. Let's get ourselves out of here.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add. It's, going to be 80 degrees and when we go down. So,
dude, I'm so excited. So we've
Just
got one more
looking forward to
recording, right, before we head down. And then, we'll talk more about that next week. But real excited. Excited to go down there.
Yeah.
Let's go, Bucks.
Sure. Yeah. Let's go, Bucks.
Thanks for listening to my dad and Uncle Jake on the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Bridge2Buctober. Don't forget to subscribe so you know when new episodes are released. Clear the deck, cannonball coming, and let's go Bucks!